Like, I've seen people recommend this movie to like, oh, even if you didn't finish trying, I'm like, no, go even harder. Like,
Yeah.
even if they only heard the word Digimon.
I need your password.
You can use mine to get on the internet.
Podigious.
Welcome to Podigious, your critically nostalgic analytical tour through the Digimon anime. Today on the podcast, it feels like 5 years since Try, and we're all exhausted by trying to keep our childlike enthusiasm alive as it succumbs to the dull mundanity of adulthood. I'm Jeff, and if I were trapped in Amber at age 11, I would be eagerly taping every episode of Cardcaptors and being very confused whenever Lee blushed around Yukito.
Oh goodness, I'm Ashley, and if I were trapped in Amber at age 11, I would be a very tiny and awful hockey goalie.
I'm Asher, and if I were trapped in Amber at age 11, I would be wearing braces and have the actual worst haircut of my entire lifespan.
I'm Andrew, and if I was trapped in Amber at age 11, I would be playing around with the detector and trying to get all the Digimon.
That's right. I got the band back together for a special August 1st bonus episode so we can finally talk about, if you couldn't guess, Digimon Adventure Last Evolution, Kizuna, aka Dalek for short. But
Oh.
you're wondering why the title was Dalek?
Yes.
But yeah, so I was a little unsure about whether how precious about spoilers with this or not because the movie has been out for so long. But I think we'll get into our impressions in a second. But I think this movie has a broad enough appeal that there is some point in discussing it and trying to sell people on it, even if they haven't seen it yet. So we're gonna have a quick spoiler-free impression and then have a full spoiler talk for most of the episode. But just as a basis, even that spoiler-free talk, everything we say might spoil the entirety of Try. But if you haven't watched Try at this point, you're probably not that.
You don't need to.
Yeah, that too. But Asher, can you read the synopsis from IMDb?
Sure. So the team discovers that when they grow up, their relationship with their Digimon will come closer to an end. They realize that the more they fight, the faster their bond breaks, and the time to choose is approaching fast.
Yeah, so, okay, what was everyone's one-word reaction?
I would say emotional. I think Asher and Andrew didn't really notice, but at the end I was like, I have feelings. I'm teary.
Mine was respectable. I thought it both respected the source material and was a respectable entity in its own right.
I'm just gonna go with messy. I understand what it was trying to go for, but it just struggled to do what it set out to do.
I want, for the record, to show that I just pulled up our one-word reactions from the final Try movie. And
Oh no.
This should be good.
Asher's was good.
Good.
Did I say that?
Yeah. I think we were all skeptical at the time.
Did I say that about Try as a whole, or just that one?
I think it was just that one.
Okay, full disclosure, I have no memory of the last movie of Try. Y'all talk about how does this our episode might spoil lots of Try, and I'm like, anything I say won't.
Mickey Jedi.
Ordine butt.
What?
Ordine, whatever it's called.
Don't remember.
Or it had a butt.
Okay.
Well, okay, my one-word reaction to this film was stunning. I guess we have a kind of a wide range of opinions here. But it's kind of hard for me to put myself back in the headspace of watching it new because I watched it, I guess around the time that it came out on DVD, September, October last year.
That was late September.
Yeah, so it's been 9 months, 10 months. But when and how so I know you all recently watched it all together, but was it the first time everyone had seen it?
No.
It was the first time the Ashes had seen it.
Yeah.
I think because you kept telling us we were going to record about it, so we were like, we'll just keep waiting.
Oh. So I was curious because with Try, we always asked Ash at least, if we weren't doing the podcast, how soon would you have watched this movie? And it was always speculative. But then I was figuring for this one, okay, see when people, actually would on their own watch it. But I guess the promise of recording a podcast,
Yeah, the promise of recording a podcast still diluted these results.
I mean, on my own part, let me think. I probably would have watched it before now, but I wouldn't have watched it immediately after it came out, probably. I would have had to buy it, you know?
No, I think, yeah, if Asher had still been living here when Andrew got it, like if it had come out like a month or two before, they both would have watched it, and then only I wouldn't have watched it.
100%, yeah.
Andrew, did you watch it at the end of last year when it came out?
I think I got it like a week before the actual release date.
You mean like it shipped to you early?
Yeah, they shipped it to me early because I bought it from Shout Factory.
Well, you're so special.
Okay, so since it has been like 9-10 months since it came out in the West, and even more since it almost a year and a half since it came out in Japan, I'm curious what especially the Ashes had heard about it in the intermediate time, and like were you spoiled on a lot of things, or did it give you expectations?
I don't think I was spoiled on anything. I mostly remember hearing people be like, "Oh my god, it was actually good," and like kind of what Try was trying to do, but better. That was all my expectation setting. I was like, it's actually good. My goodness.
Yeah, that's about what I heard too. Except I think Andrew made sure to like tell me that I probably wouldn't agree with the the premise, right? So yeah, I was prepped emotionally, but I had no idea what was going to happen in the plot or anything except a vague idea. Oh yeah, last evolution. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a lot of it is pretty. I mean, I was pretty surprised on this rewatch realizing that like the premise that's obvious in the title isn't actually explained in the movie until like 30 minutes in. It's like, okay, is this a spoiler? It's in the title. But yeah, so I guess before we get into full spoiler discussion, who would you recommend this to? Like just hardcore Digimon fans who have already watched it and don't need a recommendation? Or because I remember when Try, like the first chapter of Try came out, hearing from people who were like only had vague recollection of some episodes of Digimon and were like, oh, that looks cool, maybe I should watch it. Do you think it appeals to people like them? Do you think no?
I think it would appeal to people who have only watched the adventures, like, which seems to be many people, you know, like their attachment to Digimon is only like, I liked watching Digimon Adventure. I think it totally works for them. They don't need to have watched any of the other 6 seasons or 7 seasons or whatever.
Yeah, I think this movie actually works on a lot of different familiarity levels because it does have really obvious visual callbacks to moments from other movies and things in Try. So like there's something there for whatever you watch. I think you do need to have at least seen some of Adventure to understand what's going on. I wouldn't recommend it as a starting point. I would specifically recommend this to people who did watch Adventure and 02 and Try and didn't like Try.
Yeah.
I guess we'll get into full depth about why that is. But I think also, I mean, maybe I have the most extreme opinion that like, I think the two big questions are like, I guess there's several questions. Like, if someone didn't like Try, I think this would interest them. If someone fell off of Try and didn't even finish it, also this appeals to them without having finished it. Like you don't need to worry about finishing Try first or anything.
Correct.
I think also if someone like didn't finish the original Adventure, you know, like obviously not going to get the most out of this, but like I think it would still be an enjoyable film. Like I went into the original Boruto movie having only like vague understanding of what Naruto was and like the basic initial couple chapters of Naruto, and still enjoyed that Boruto movie. I think this is on a similar level where if you know the basic premise of Digimon, have some memories of the original season, I think that's enough to enjoy a decent part of the movie.
I agree. I think it's, if you remember vaguely like who these kids are, you don't need to remember anything that happens, I think is the thing.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to remember that Mayotasman came and took over Tokyo, even though that was a huge deal.
You don't need to know that.
Yeah, but you do kind of need to know who the kids are and who they are to one another, and sort of what each of them is about.
I, in preparation, went back and rewatched some episodes of 02 in particular that I'm sure we'll talk about later. But I have a whole extra level of Ken feelings now that also aren't necessary at all for the movie. But but yeah, so I guess that's kind of my pitch, at least. Though, like, I think people should be like, I've seen people recommend this movie to like, oh, you know, even if you didn't finish Try, I'm like, no, go even harder. Like, even if they only heard the word Digimon.
No, I do think you have to have some nostalgic feeling for like, oh yeah, Digimon used to be on TV and I used to watch that casually. Like I think that level needs to exist, but beyond that, you don't need anything.
Yeah, I do think that like, I'm sure we'll get into our things that we don't like about the film as much. I feel like a lot of those things are more things that would concern hardcore Digimon fans. So I feel like those complaints might be the kind of thing that, like, you know, a much more casual fan who doesn't even identify as a fan of Digimon would just be like, oh, fun ride, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess without further ado, should we get into spoilers?
Let's do it.
I don't have a soundboard clip for spoilers, so here we go. This will be the mark of the spoiler zone.
Digimon! Oh man, nostalgia kick right there.
I said it yesterday when we were watching the movie too.
Did you?
Yeah.
She
When he
did.
was on screen for like
Oh,
5
I missed
seconds.
it. I missed it.
It must be pretty okay. That's a confusing transition if people don't realize that's not you live. So here's a better one.
It's just so lavender.
Okay, wait. I don't know color, so we're fully in the spoiler zone now. But here's my first spoiler question: is the third action set piece, is that color lavender? I don't think so.
It was blue.
Okay, it's blue. That would have been perfect if it had been lavender.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Okay. Well, okay. We have lots of things that we can discuss, but I think the what I think is the biggest elephant in the room is how does this movie compare to Try?
Well, to start off, Try isn't a movie series.
Pedantic.
Okay, I remember us having this argument a lot, but I think it is worth mentioning for this in particular because, like, yeah, this is the first, surprisingly, of all Digimon media, the first that's actually like a full-on, no hesitation, no qualifications, just movie. Like,
That's
even
true.
the stuff that got stitched together for the American Digimon movie, you have the footnote of like, well, this wasn't a movie in Japan, it was 3 OVAs that aired in theaters and stuff, and in America it's a Frankenstein beast, but like, and Try, it's like these are premium OVAs that were sold on digital on demand at the same time they were in theaters, but this was just full on theatrical release. Would have been a theatrical release in America if it hadn't been for the whole pandemic, and produced. Clearly the production quality is on a different level.
Yeah. It's a good
Yeah.
movie.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
It was meant to be a movie. It's great.
I went in expecting, like, I didn't expect this because I thought it was too good to be true, but I was like, if they can do like Summer Wars quality, not Summer Wars, our War Game quality animation for a whole entire movie,
They're the same movie.
Same movie.
same movie, yeah. Like, if they can do that for a whole movie, like, that's way too much to expect. But like, even if they do that animation wise, the story is not going to be very good, and it's not going to be written very well. And I was very surprised that I don't think the animation quality was like as superb as
No.
Summer Wars or our War Game, but like most of the way there. And some of the action set pieces where I thought were, like as good or better. So
Yeah.
But I was mostly surprised by the actual writing and scenario held that up. But I guess I think I'm the most positive on that front.
I really liked. I know Asher and Andrew, as they were watching it, were like, "No, disagree with this premise," and I'm like, "Shut up."
Wait, okay, at what points did the disagreement start?
The countdown.
I think it started before that, but you had tipped me off. You tipped me off that I wasn't gonna fully be on board with it. When did the disagreement start? God.
Basically, when Manuel just walked in.
You think?
Pretty much.
No, it had to be after they found out that the relationships were gonna break down.
So right after Omnimon, like they were asking questions about Omnimon.
Right. Yeah. So it was a bit after Manoa showed up.
Right. So it's right after the first battle.
Yeah. The disagreement is fundamentally sort of about what does it mean to be an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I had expectation going into this movie was that there was all of those you can't even say rumors because it wasn't a rumor. It was like from the director himself, but the like original director of Adventure in 02, Kakudo, who had also I think his role for Try was supervisor. He like was initially involved in this project and like publicly stepped away from it at some point during production and like made a blog post about how like this just couldn't be reconciled with his vision of Digimon. And when I heard that, this was probably like a year before the movie came out in Japan, and it was like, oh God, what? Like, if he was on board with Try, and this is like irreconcilable with that, and I think Try is like hard to reconcile with Adventure in 02 itself. So like,
Yeah.
is this going to be even edgier and like, oh, like Digimon, there's no hope in humanity, and like everyone gets, I don't know, like gritty and realistic when they're older or something. I was worried about that, and I was surprised at how much, or I thought it would directly contradict the 02 epilogue. That was the one thing I had seen at various spoilers of like the Digimon new forms and stuff before I saw it, but the one thing I was really glad I wasn't spoiled on was whether it directly contradicts the 02 epilogue or not. Because I think it's good that I don't know. I liked not knowing that at the end.
Yeah, it's an open ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I had gone into the whole movie like hearing like, oh, it's open, then I would have been like, oh, well, okay, well then there's no tension or whatever. So
I mean, it definitely leads you to believe that it doesn't contradict the epilogue.
Yeah, because they all go into the jobs that they have in the epilogue.
Yeah.
And I think that's,
Right.
in a way, it's sort of a comfort, because we also know from the epilogue, if we've seen that epilogue, hey, their Digimon are there. They do see them again.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting, one of the topics I wrote down before taking it, like when I wrote down and didn't end up typing it on the notes, was reconciling this with the O2 epilogue. I think it's actually a really hopeful and interesting mental exercise to see what that could mean.
Yeah, because I feel like I feel like all of our like Asher and Andrew disagree with this view that like in adulthood you must give up your imaginary friends and like become lost and like depressed and all these things. Even though I do think that is one route to adulthood that many people take.
Well, my problem with the adulthood angle that this movie went for is that like I understand that kids have more potential, but that potential doesn't all go away when you're an adult.
Yeah, I think that's a like a core principle of, I think the actual mechanics of how the countdown appears and when it appears is really hard to reconcile with, like there's no direct correlation with how, like it's not directly based on age, it's not directly based on me like knowing your career path, or like it's pretty vague. And just the like the core concept of like you have some potential as a kid and then as an adult you don't, I disagree with, but I realized this time I don't think they explicitly say that. I think it's more that like as a kid you have like, I mean this is kind of depressing, but if you kind of go the Madoka Magica angle of like these kids as kids have like a battery of like infinite potential, and then as adults they still have potential, but it's not like this huge ever expansive battery, and so it's maybe not enough to fuel a Digimon, but it's still there, it's just not like this absurdly high level, is kind of how I reconcile it this time.
I have a lot of thoughts. Do you mind if I talk, Ashley?
Go ahead.
Okay. I probably take up a big chunk of time here, so I if anyone wants to get anything else out before
I'm so ready.
Oh man, okay. So tying this back to also why the director left, maybe, I don't know why. I didn't even hear about this until I saw it in the notes. Okay, again, like Andrew and I are largely on the same page here.
And computer. Page and computer at the moment.
Literally, well, he's not looking at my literal physical page, but we are looking at the same web pages right now. And yes, literal same computer and microphone. What I was saying was we're on the same metaphorical page when it comes to the potential of children and the power of adults, I think. I also agree. Yeah, I don't like thinking. I think ever since like reading too much Chronicles of Narnia, I don't really. I'm not in the same place where I believe that kids have magic powers, right? I don't believe kids are magically purer or more. What kids have that adults don't have is just literal time ahead of them, right? In that sense, yes, they have potential, infinite potential futures, just in a completely multiverse science way of thinking it, where they haven't made all their choices yet. It's just spread before them infinitely. A lot of things that affect what decisions are available to them have been made already. They're born into a society. They are born with certain genetics. The world has made many choices before the existence of this child. So I think the difference between a child and adult is maybe not as stark as we like to think it is.
Yeah, it's a very optimistic and overly rosy picture to imagine that like every possibility is not open to every kid. Like that's a
yes.
Yeah,
so
absurdly.
Yeah. So that's one part of it. I'm also over here like children make choices and become more defined about who they are, right? And we see the adventure kids do this as they grow alongside their Digimon. The adventure kids, they start out and yes, they're different kids. the first episode, we know they have different hobbies. Izzy's the computer kid. Tai likes soccer. Sora also likes soccer, but she's a girl. You know? But and the Digimon are at that stage are also very similar. They're pudgy, bouncy. A lot of them are pink, squishy orbs. Bukamon's a little different, but they're all sort of takes on the same model. They're more similar than they are later as they grow. They become more different. They become more colorful. They become more diverse. Biyomon goes in the sky. You know?
Gomamon goes in the sea.
Most of the time he doesn't, though. It's like, he must have such a hard time walking around. But, you know, like, Yokomon and Tanemon at the beginning are both little sprout things, and then immediately the next stage, they're very different. So, as the kids grow and become more themselves, they get the crests, that's a huge step towards, in this universe, becoming who they are. We're told that it is the value they best exemplified as younger children when they were scanned for this or whatever. But I still think that doesn't preclude them choosing to embrace that value. Oh, that's not a value. What is that? That virtue. There we go. And as they do that, their Digimon become more powerful. It's doing that. It's making those choices and getting closer to the adult, the fully realized human that you're going to be, that makes your Digimon more powerful. So continuing on that path, making the adult decisions that define like what you're going to do with your life, what future you're looking forward to, should not sever the connection with your Digimon. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
And it kills.
And that super doesn't make sense to me. They should have just gone back to the digital world, even if their connection was severed. Digimon can live without their partners. Most of the Digimon we meet aren't partnered. Like, what?
And then they're always separated, like at the end of Adventure, during 02, after 02 for some reason, and then Try, they were not with their partners until something happens and they need to be reunited again.
I think that the thing that's tough about if they had just been like sent back to the digital world is that, like, well, in the way this world's set up now, it's like if the gates are open, if Agumon and Gabumon get sent back to the digital world, like, what's to stop Taiji and Yamato just going there and finding them? You know,
Nothing.
So like, right. So I feel like they have to disappear them in order for there to be any like weight to it, which is unfortunate, because I think I agree that like it would be more natural if they just get sent back to the digital world and there's no way to get to the digital world. But
yeah, my sense is that is something that might have like troubled the director, because, you know, the original concept of Digimon, it grows up. It goes from baby to baby 2 to child to adult. Why should you, also becoming an adult, change anything?
I agree that like it is hard to reconcile. One thing, so like I went back and watched some 02 episodes, inspired by a previous guest on this podcast, Aster, who has, I think maybe in podcast episodes, I forget, has talked a lot about how like this movie is like very, even though it doesn't feature the 02 characters very much, it is very like inspired by ideas in 02. So I was pretty curious to like go back and watch some 02 episodes to confirm that. And so I watched the episode where the first half of the episode where they've just discovered who the Digimon Emperor is, the Kaiser. And then it's like them like research, like finding out about him and him doing his interview where he is a child genius. In a lot of ways, Menoa is what Ken would have been if he'd continued down that trajectory of being a child genius, which I think is a very interesting idea. But I also watched the episode where Ken is like comatose and searching for his heart. And then the final 4 episodes, where they kind of like retcon the idea of the digital world as being like created by the hopes and dreams and wishes of kids. And that idea, I feel like, is very inspirational for this idea. But I do agree that like it doesn't really make sense that they get stronger and power up as you come in, and as you self-realize, as you learn more about yourself. And then it's like, oh, but sorry, twist, if you realize too much about yourself, then they go away. That's hard to reconcile. But I think one thing they could have done to reconcile those two ideas is that Oikawa is like his struggle at the end of 02 is that and the whole time leading up to whatever, is that he can't go into he can't enter the digital world. So I think they could have like pulled Agumon and Gabumon into the digital world and then said like, Taichi and Yamato, you can't enter. That would have been an interesting thing to do. But
yeah.
I feel like the problem with this movie overall is that like nothing is consistent though. Like do you think that Taichi and Yamato self-realized? Because I don't think that's what happened. I think they got more lost, and like they were
Yeah,
aggravated at Agumon and Gabumon for being more childish than them, and like keeping them back in this childhood thing.
I don't know if they were aggravated, but yeah, definitely.
They were annoyed.
But yeah, I totally agree. I think it is pretty inconsistent that like I don't think they are the most self-realized of the kids by any measure. And for some reason, they're the ones that like they're also not the oldest. They're also not. There's no measure where I can see them being the first ones. Actually, wait. Okay, canonically in the movie, they're not the first. Sora's the first.
Yeah, Sora
Right.
is the first. And Sora displays the same things as them, I think. Like, everything that we are shown is like, she's kind of annoyed. She doesn't want to do this thing. So, like, Piyomon has no use in her life. So it's just like, okay, Piyomon has to go away now.
Yes.
But that's not even in the movie.
It was implied a little
you
bit,
get
I think.
the implication of it in the movie.
It's definitely expanded into Sora, but we're not there yet. What I wanted to say to that, well, actually, what I wanted to say first about Oikawa is Oikawa can't let go of the past. And I think that was a really powerful thing. Like, you do have to move forward. I agree with that. I think there's a time and a place for reflecting and longing for the past. I think that's fine. The problem is when you are like Oikawa or when you're like Minoa, and we mentioned some other, like Ken couldn't let go of the past. He couldn't let go of Sam or Osamu. Who else couldn't let go of the past? We talked a lot about this. Tai had a moment where he couldn't move forward in OG Adventure, and that led to problems.
And then again in Try.
One of the big elephants in the room, which we'll discuss later, I think. So just throw it out here now. Maki.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember enough about Try to bring up Maki, but like, yeah. And then what I was going to say about Tai and Matt and Sora and what they have in common also with Minoa is this idea of moving past their Digimon as if their Digimon are a concept linked inherently to childhood and not, living sapient beings in their own right. All the other kids had their Digimon involved in their
Business.
in their careers, in their lives moving forward, whereas Yamato, Taichi, and Sora seemed to feel some tension between, oh, if I am going to be an adult, I cannot have this relationship holding me back. And Minoa had that too. She was like, I'm going to go to college. I don't need anybody else. And she didn't say it, but she was, I felt that she was saying to Morphomon, I don't need you anymore, even though she wanted this life with Morphomon. Like, I could imagine being Morphomon and hearing that.
Yeah, like I think she does like canonic. She does say like I'm doing this for us, but yeah, like I agree with you. Like, is it really for them?
Yeah, I mean, what's Morphomon gonna do at college? Like,
Be a social butterfly.
I mean, not to draw too much on the Toy Story 3 comparisons, but yeah, it's literally Andy can't take the toys to college. So
yes, that's exactly it. Yes, thank you.
But yeah, I think the what you're saying about them, the Digimon not fitting into their lives, I think that is the best reading of it that makes sense of it, and also works on the the metaphorical level where, and I think that's what is like the coolest thing about this movie is that it's so reflective of, I think, this experience that almost everyone who is a fan of Digimon as a kid goes through, where they love Digimon as a kid, at some point are like, I'm too old for this Digimon thing, I'm too cool for this, and then later, hopefully, someone will come back around and are like, that was silly, I can embrace Digimon as an adult, like I don't need to choose Digimon or adulthood, I can do both.
Sounds fake. Fake news.
I mean, yeah, like disregarding anything that's said about adulthood in the show and just being like, okay, it's really about whether you as a person accept the Digimon into your life or not. It makes way more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't go that route. They had a message they were trying to give, and
it worked within the context of the story itself.
I feel like
much else.
It was a little too inconsistent. They
Yeah.
couldn't quite make it work, I think. Not in the movie.
And definitely not the rest of the franchise.
Yeah, like I think I was surprised by how emotionally satisfying it felt in the movie and how much it is able to have this tragic departure or farewell without directly contradicting things, but yeah, like indirectly contradicting things and the reasoning not really making sense. I can also headcanon that away and reconcile it that like that, you know, like this is not the very first time it's happened, but like it's still early on in the timeline of this like human and Digimon being partners experiment. So like maybe Jedi is still figuring out. He doesn't know for sure. There was one moment that I kind of missed when watching the movie that I didn't notice until reading. I think it was the highlights from the audio commentary, which I'll have a link to in the show notes, which is a translation of highlights from the audio commentary. That at the very end of that scene between Taichi and Jenai starts to like trail off and say like, "Oh, but this is possible" or something, and Taichi's just not paying attention, and she's staring like the camera focuses on the window. So I think there's a door there for like, you know, Jenai doesn't know for sure, and things are kind of up in the air, but Taichi's just so sad he doesn't notice.
Right. And if you do want to be like, okay, as an adult, you do have to give up some of your childhood. Like if you want to be on that boat, what you can then believe is, yeah, they give it up for a while. They still hold that longing in their hearts, but they have other priorities. They have to go and become astronauts and housewives. But then when the kids come along, they rediscover how to be a kid. And that's actually kind of beautiful.
Total tangent, but some of the ways that the these year two careers are like mentioned in this movie, I felt were a little bit too on the nose. You know, like Daisuke or Davis being like, not just like I'm really interested in ramen. Like I think we'll get to the drama city that came out alongside it, and in the drama city, I think it's just like he's obsessed with ramen, cool. But in this movie, in the movie itself, they're like, I'm interested in New York ramen in particular. And it's like, okay, that's a little too hyper specific for exactly what he did in the epilogue. But I wish one thing they'd done that was hyper specific was Miyako just turn to the camera and say, I want to have kids and also a amazing career as a programmer, but I will only mention the kids 20 years from now. But I also have an amazing career as a programmer that I just might not mention all the time. But, you know.
No.
Alas.
If only.
The gender, not good.
Gender still happened.
Oh yeah, it happened big time.
Yeah, the focus of this movie just being Taichi Yamato, all the female characters being unimportant or like not even.
It's like they whittled it down throughout the movie. They were like, all right, here's everybody in the opening. Cool. Now we're gonna let Joe's out here. Joe sucks. You know, it's like,
Hey. I'm proud of him.
I'm proud of Joe. Good for you. So then it's like, yeah. It's like Joe and Sora and Mimi. Forget about those guys entirely. And they're like, Hikari was here, but now she's not. Oh, Takeru and Koshiro were still here for a hot second, but now they're not. And I'm like, okay.
I find that more respectful than most of the way that the focus gets narrowed down to Taichi and Yamato in this franchise.
And whatever Tri did.
It's like, oh, they did get to be here.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Remember what Tri did in the first minute?
Right, and I think the big difference between the way this movie handled it and Tri handled it is that like the kids care that they disappeared. They notice and they're upset about it. And but on that note, the one exception to that I did find kind of overall, I am both frustrated and like how Sora is completely excluded from the movie, but that also gives her own storyline kind of. But the fact that when they're all in the Neverland world and like they talk about, oh, you're all here, and no one's like, where's Sora? He's a little weird.
Especially like, okay, especially since your two conscious characters are Yamato and Taichi. It's like, don't you guys have this love triangle going on?
Yeah, of all people to not notice
like,
Sora. Like,
are you going to rely on Sora to come save your butts? Like, that would be beautiful. But they didn't.
Well, they didn't expect anything from Sora.
I know, that sucks.
Oh no. Yeah, I can see that being a hard thing to write around because like from a like last minute rescue, it seems almost like they're setting up for that. They're like, Sora hasn't appeared, oh my god, she's gonna come in and save everyone, but then it's like, oh no, she doesn't even have a Digimon anymore.
Right.
So that,
I mean, it's definitely the vibe. I was like, ooh, is Sora gonna come save them? I was like, wait, no.
Lol, Sora getting to do anything in a Digimon movie.
So
she got to look out a window.
Wow. She got to arrange a flower.
She got to arrange some flowers.
see, that's very different from our war game where she was in the window but she didn't look out the window.
Yes, that's true.
What did everyone think about the new song that played during the evolution sequence at the end?
I don't even remember it.
Did I say I liked that one, Ashley? I commented on a lot of the music, but I don't remember it.
I don't
now.
remember that one in particular. I remember when it got all dark and emo, we were like, it's suddenly Danganronpa.
Okay.
I don't remember that, but cool.
When like Yamato goes to confront the FBI guy because he thinks he's
Oh, yeah.
the bad guy or whatever.
Yeah. That was great.
The vibe I got when Menoa, I guess is when she's in Koshiro's office and she has her turn, and I was like, oh, she did the Ace Attorney reveal. She just like completely changed her character model and animation style.
Okay, you know what? My biggest complaint about this movie is that the way that we're like introduced to Minoa is like nobody has background checked this chick, and they just believe her about this whole fanciful like, oh yeah, people are falling unconscious because of this Digimon, and it stores the and it's like, what? You just trust her, and then what's going on?
How does she even know that? How does she
Yeah.
even know that in the first place?
How does
Because
she
she's
know?
a researcher.
Well, they didn't know that.
I think she introduced herself that way.
She introduced herself that way. Yeah, great.
Oh, right. She could be lying.
No
Yeah,
outside corroboration.
I'm
Like
saying
I thought,
they didn't look into her at all. They were just like, cool, we believe you. Like, let's go.
I had been led to believe that like Miyako knew her. I thought they went to the same school. I didn't realize Miyako was in Spain and Minoa's from New York. Like I didn't catch that.
Mm.
So I was like, oh, all right. This makes no sense.
I think that them all going into the R War Game homage was very stupid. Like, they're leaving Kushiro's computer completely exposed, these two strangers who just showed up.
Yeah.
But the fact that they leave themselves so vulnerable and then there wasn't a negative fallout from that, that's what made me think, like, I was like going into that encounter, I was like, okay, Manoa is definitely evil. And then when nothing happened from that, except for us, obviously, like Omnimon, Omegon forming and like the bond starting to expire, whatever. Once she didn't use that opportunity to sabotage things, I was like, oh, okay, she's not evil.
She did though, I think, because there was a moment where, wait, no, she didn't.
She's unrelated to it.
Yeah.
It just happened to happen.
It was weird because it cut from Minoa to an image of Ty's childhood goggles and then back to Minoa and then Omegamon dispersed.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, did she do something? Did she let this Digimon escape? But then it was unrelated.
Yeah, I think that's one of my biggest frustrations with the movie is that Omegamon, like, the timer appearing in the middle of that fight, I can understand if it happened when Omegamon formed. I can understand if it happened when Taichi Yamato had some character revelation, but it was just in the middle of a fight? Like, okay. But yeah, I think Minoa didn't do anything in that moment because Kyotaro was watching her, so she couldn't act independently. But I think that worked as a good twist to make me think that she was good. I also thought that, like, okay, we're all still grieving the death of Kojiwada. Like, she has a butterfly pin in her hair. Like, there's no way she can be evil. They're not gonna like make butterflies evil, right?
But the butterfly is blue.
Oh yeah, no. Okay, so I haven't played Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory yet, but I know there is a character associated with butterflies who is like, at the very least, not necessarily a good side of good. So I did not find the butterfly reassuring.
Yeah, I think I'm hazy now. I did finish Hacker's Memory, but I can't remember how that plays out. And I think you're right, and I should have seen that coming. But I appreciate how both of those things exist now as butterfly homages. On the note of Menoa, I guess this question is for everyone except for Asher, since he doesn't remember Try enough. But one of the big complaints I heard about this movie, and I think one of the big proponents of this was May from Lost in Translation, who hadn't, I don't know if I think they still maybe haven't seen the movie because it hadn't come out in Australia or something. I'm not sure. But for a while, they had read the novelization in Japanese that, like, so they got like the full plot, like dump of what happens, and found Menoa to be a complete rehash of Maki. And I can see how on paper, literal paper, like in the abstract, that is there. But I thought that, like, in execution, they felt so wildly different that I wasn't complaining about that. Even though they did both end up in Dark Ocean-esque things.
No, but I agree with you. Like, I didn't even make that connection until I read the question in this outline, and I was like, oh, that is true, I suppose. But, like, the way it emotionally happened was not at all the same for me.
Yeah, because, like, on paper, it's like, okay, they're both mentor figures. Menoa is the same age as Taichi Yamato, so she's not older, but, like, they're both more knowledgeable mentors who take them in, tell them something they're going to help them, and then, surprise, they are grieving the loss of their Digimon and enacting some plan that is going to hurt everyone to...
have a psychotic meltdown.
Yeah. But like Minnow is not literally trying to get more from my back. She's trying to quote unquote help everyone. So I think that's an interesting way that they differ.
Yeah, but even that is similar to a pre-existing Digimon plot, except this time it's the human instead of a Digimon wanting to do it.
Oh, you mean the 02 OVA, the
The
summer memory?
02. Yep. Wait, the what?
We have to go back to the summer memory.
Oh, yeah, but it's
ママ
like
買い物 Will you tell Mom Amy that I'm going to the summer memory? No, summer memory.
Have you added what was it? Oh shoots.
Oh no.
It was so funny.
That was
Shoot.
so weird.
Oh
But yeah,
shoots.
but it's funny because some of the O2 kids go to New York, and then some Digi-destined around the world get kidnapped and be forced to be children for some reason.
Okay. Yeah, that is very similar to that.
That is a very big coincidence, except this time TK and Kari didn't get to go to New York.
Yeah. I think this, again, going back to the like inability to let go of the past thing, I think this is just something that comes back and comes back and comes back in Digimon. Loss and how people deal with it or don't. So,
Yeah.
I don't believe that Minoa is just a rehash of Maki even from what I remember about Maki. I think this is just, this is something that's vital to the human experience, and it plays out. It leads to really like good material in this digital world canon. You can do a lot with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I one complaint that I've heard about the film that I have to accept, yeah, that totally valid. It, for me, it doesn't upset me too much, but if it upsets you, then there's nothing I can say to convince anyone of it or against it, is that the franchise telling us this story about how we need to move on from the past and not be anchored down by the past, and then also selling us the Adventure reboot, which is literally like, it would have been different if we had been able to see it in the original release order and seen this movie before the Adventure reboot, but seeing the kids stuck in amber at their Adventure 99 designs felt so much like, oh, it's the reboot right there. Like, this thing that she's making them do is the reboot. And okay, not the try reboot, which I realize is not confusing.
I got you.
Yeah. So yeah, I can understand how that might be really off-putting, that it's like, it feels kind of ham-fisted and cynical for Digimon to be telling us you need to move on, but also if you don't want to move on, buy these toys and keep watching this other show. But I also think that for the target, they had different target demographics, and this movie is clearly for the people that have aged up and want to move on, and this could be the final thing they watch about Digimon and be happy with it. And the Adventure 2020 is more like, well, if you want to keep watching, it's there. But yeah, I mean, this movie does kind of say that you shouldn't watch the Adventure 2020 reboot. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't feel like I've aged out of Digimon, right? But I feel like this movie, I was more on board with this movie I think this movie is better than anything that's come out in the Digimon franchise since Tamers. That I don't believe that means I am leaving Digimon behind, It's like, oh, this movie actually goes back and addresses the emotional,
conflict.
No, hang on. This movie returns to the emotional core of you and your Digimon share some kind of bond that helps you both grow. And even if it doesn't go the way I want it to, it still at least lives in that framework. So I think watching this movie and watching Adventure 2020 are kind of like, okay, if you watch both, you've missed the point of one of them.
On the note of bonds, one thing this rewatching the movie made me think of was that it's a little disappointing that I wish we got more completely different interpretations of what the bond between human and Digimon meant, because I feel like we got this setup of Digimon in Adventure, and then 02 carries through the same universe. Tamers is okay, I mean, the bond between human and Digimon partner is a little bit different, but it's very similar, and I think the only true exceptions we've gotten have been Frontier and Cross Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm just inspired by recent fan art I saw of the adventure characters drawn as the adventure kids and their Digimon drawn as JoJo stands. But like something like that like completely reframes the like what it means for a Digimon and a human. I think would be a cool angle for the franchise to explore, because I feel like, especially with this movie, like we've seen this incarnation, and in some ways, Tamers, Savers, Atmon all feel like a little too similar. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, not that they're too similar, but like they're, I don't want to say Tamers especially is shallow, but like they all kind of feel like shallow copies of the same idea.
Well, it's just a really appealing idea that sells a lot of toys.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it'd be cool if they found other ways to relate to Digimon that still, like, it relies on a bond, what that bond is. Yeah. No, that'd be cool.
Did you have we already brought up other things about your Kizuna topic?
Well, I just wanted to be like, I watched Kizuna last year sometime and thought it was interesting that, so the whole thing between the whole like pun concept behind Kizuna is Kizuna means bonds. It's hang on, I found a definition that I really like. Let me read it. Kizuna, Japanese concept describing the bonds between people, emotional ties, or relationships. Strong, deep, unbreakable ones with family, a soulmate, and best friends. And I got that from Kizuna Sushi and Ramen, which is Kizuna, TYSONS.com. So Kizuna means bonds. Kizu means wound or scar. And that's how Kizuna like sort of puts those two ideas together. It's like these people are bound together by their shared experience of pain. And, the pain of a bond breaking and the wound it leaves behind, whether that's a scar or a memory that gives you strength or what, I don't know. I just think it's having those resonant, like that linguistic resonance in mind throughout the movie is kind of powerful as well.
Did we talk about like how they didn't bring up the crests at all in this? We definitely talked about that offline, and we're like, it's a bit strange that that's been dropped, and now we have like this new bonds thing forming. But sure.
I remember finding that really frustrating and egregious in Try, especially when they like 02 especially had so much like, not like crest shenanigans, but kind of crest shenanigans of like explicit like, oh, they have the powers of the crest, they don't have the powers of the crest, etc. And then for them to get to Mega without addressing whether the crests are a thing or not anymore. But I didn't even think about it in this movie.
I thought about it.
You definitely thought about it. It didn't like affect the viewing of the movie, I guess. It's just,
I mean, for me, the crests are a crutch or a focus or a vehicle for this power the kids have innately. So for the crests, not like for them to not need the crests anymore, like I'm okay with that. Like the physical crests and tags, right? For those qualities, I feel like they're still implied because everybody still has their personalities intact, which I can't say for all of Digimon Adventure properties. I think it would have been powerful to like bring it in and talk about how those crests interact with becoming adults, like how a changing understanding of what courage is as you grow up changes how your Digimon evolves. Like that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I guess that's my thing, is that like as the crest stand, they're kind of like supposed to be this unmovable aspect of the child. But like again, as you say, there's different ways to like, have that manifest and stuff. So yeah, it would be interesting. It's just like, so friendship has been shown to be important to Matt. He doesn't have to see it the same way throughout his life, but like for it to just be completely dropped is like, okay. So
especially when like the whole premise of this movie is, oh, a friendship is ending. His relationship with Gabumon, if Gabumon like is disconnected and dies, like dang, what does that mean for friendship? What does grief bring into friendship?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it in passing early on in the recording, but like the fundamental idea of the crest that like they were scanned as kids and have this one attribute that represents them best. I think it is reconcilable and makes a lot of sense for that one moment in time, but like as the kids age and it's like if it's still supposed to be like that one thing from when you were how old were they in the first movie, like 4 or 5 or whatever, like yeah, I don't love the idea of them being like destined or fated for that one attribute throughout their entire life. So I think it would be cool to see like a narrative in the Adventureverse that actually like explore what it would be like to change over time enough that it doesn't reflect you anymore. And I guess what Try and this movie have done is just never explicitly mention them, so it's like you can kind of read into what you want, I guess.
Yeah. Try would have actually been a great moment to explore that, like, what is courage to Taichi who doesn't want to fight anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, like, the crests are kind of like horoscopes, zodiac signs, where a lot of different interpretations can come through. Like, what's the difference between friendship and love, really, right? Like, what's the difference between purity and faith, for example? Like, these kids can still keep their digi-government assigned virtues while still exploring a range of different ways to be. Like, maybe, yeah, I don't know. It's like you could keep your crest and your color scheme and still exhibit a different crest. I don't know.
Sorry to derail from that like very interesting topic, but I pasted in Discord the most important horoscope, which is the potato birthstones chart that was recently going on Twitter.
Ooh, I got the best one. Yes.
How come I only get one?
Wait, Asher, which one are you?
He's Scorpio.
Tater tots. Yeah, okay, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Cancer with waffle fries, which I disagree with. I think philosophically I'm more of a Leo with hash browns.
It's not hash browns. It's hash brown.
Yeah, one hash brown.
Ooh,
A single
Virgo.
brown.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, poor Virgos. Just a
Ooh.
raw potato.
Yuck. Oy.
Yummy. I'm fine being mashed potatoes.
But yeah, I like the idea of the crest being more like a horoscope than a like 100% fated kind of thing.
Yeah.
Does everyone have a favorite scene from the movie? I guess I can go first because I think it was the moment when they're in the Neverland and it's just showing all the different kids that have already been taken there, and we see them in their little isolated crystal memory, and there are all of these vague but clear callbacks to original adventure scenarios, like Mimi's at the Shogun Gekomon stage. I'm trying to remember other ones. Koshiro's at the
battery.
Yeah, like the little like tube that he was in with Tentomon early on in the show, and like
There's a giant battery that he went inside at the factory.
right. I don't remember that episode in enough detail to remember what it was. Except that there was Digi writing on the wall.
Yeah, because that was the programming to power the entire factory, and erasing even one letter shuts it down.
Yeah, so I thought that was it was like a dramatic moment in the film that also had those emotional callbacks in the middle of it. That was really cool.
Actually, I like the one for Joe because it was when he and Gomon decided to climb the mountain on File Island.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right before the Unimon fight.
Yeah.
Because that's the one time he took the initiative for anything by that point.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would call this my favorite scene, but I'll just name ones that made me feel emotions related to that. Was definitely, I did not like seeing, like, you know, the Digimon in their evil amberfied form, like coming out of that and then beating up on Garurumon and stuff. I was like, oh no, that's so sad.
There was one moment of that where they were huddled around one of them that I was like, oh, is this just Hercules Kabuterimon again, kind of? But you know, it's different. It hits different.
It definitely hit different. I was like, oh. And then again, like, yeah, watching Taichi and Yamato say goodbye and then cry like the big man children they are.
Yeah. That was really powerful. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
That scene was like, oh my, like, I recorded the audio just to play it because I think it's really, really powerful and affecting.
That's the saddest story I ever heard.
All right, good troll. Good for you.
But on a serious note, like I thought the execution of that scene, like, I mean, it blew me away when I first watched it. Like, I think it made me cry. But this time, oh my god, like what I remembered about last time was that they like they disappear mid sentence. I was like, oh, that's a really cool way to do this. Like, we've seen Digimon leaving the kids before lots of different times, but like this one's unique because they leave in the middle of a sentence. That's a really cool idea. But this time, I realized how like it's not just mid sentence. It's that I think it's technically like actually between two sentences. It's not mid sentence, but anyway, it's like they ask the kids like something about the future, like in the abstract.
Mm-hmm.
What are they gonna do tomorrow?
Well, yeah, like they're asking, like, what about the future? And the kids are able to answer that. But then it's the idea of what are we going to do tomorrow that they like. So they seem to, it's almost like they've come to terms with doing stuff like that the future, they're eventually going to disappear and they're going to have a future without them soon. But as soon as Taichi and Yamato are like, okay, but tomorrow, and they disappear when they're thinking about the plans for literally tomorrow, that like, that's what really devastated me. That it's like, because like in like the thankfully few moments in my life where I've had like real grief of a relationship like that, like the abstract idea of eventually getting over it and like what your life will eventually be wasn't that hard for me to accept. But like, okay, but what am I going to do tomorrow? That was like, yeah, it's very, very, very affecting.
Yeah, I think that's what that made that scene that powerful, was that they were going to say, tomorrow we're going to do something with you, you know?
Yeah, like let's just get ice cream, and it's like you can't even do that.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know, it's like, you want to hold on to that childhood comfort one more day. And it hurts. It is devastating.
Yeah, like it's never a good moment. Yeah. On a total opposite emotional moment, when they're at the train car and Amber or Crystal, whatever, it made me realize like what actually happened at the end of the original season. I never thought about it, but they ride a train car from the digital world to somewhere. Does that train car just appear in the real world somewhere? A trolley car, whatever it was.
It appears in Shinjuku.
Yeah, it actually, that trolley car that was in Shinjuku Square for forever, and I think recently got removed, that actually was that trolley car.
Yeah, it was.
What?
Oh, I'll send you a picture. I was recently thinking of it because they actually go inside of it in The World Ends With You. It's at the
You're
Shibuya
like, it's
109.
very important art that they've removed.
Well, I think I was hearing about it getting removed like before COVID, so I don't know if it got canceled or not.
Like this was an actual trolley car?
Oh no, it's not the same trolley car that it's in Digimon.
No, but
it's just
an actual trolley car that was just
right
sitting there for
I
forever.
think they used it as like an exhibition space or like a shop, like a pop-up shop or something.
Kind of like what they do at like events with like little libraries and stuff.
I think so, but I never actually went inside.
Did we see this car?
Yeah, because it's basically like where the Hachiko famous statue is, like across the square from that.
I don't remember this being there.
No, I feel like I remember it and us being like, why is there a trolley car?
Especially, why is there this like obnoxiously green trolley car? But rip trolley car, maybe. If it was actually removed, I'm not sure.
Digimon has been abstract enough that things just disappear once they get to the real world.
Yeah. They probably just like appeared.
Yeah, just like Tai after the black hole that he got swallowed in.
Yeah, sorry, I derailed from that. If people have more about the departure scene.
No, just I was teary. I was like, no, don't cry. Taichi and Yamato crying, Ashley. That's not acceptable.
I mean, if you're ever like having a really emotional moment like that, you just have to remember.
That's the saddest story.
It's true.
Not gonna play the whole thing
Just
again.
remember
this. I'm surprised I haven't seen anyone like dub over that audio into the clip of Taichi and Yamato crying.
It's up to you, Jeff.
Yeah. Jeff, you have to right this wrong.
It's my digi destiny.
Oh god.
So one of the other ancillary pieces of media that I wanted to discuss that came out, I actually don't remember the timing of this. I think it aired in Japan and also subtitled on YouTube way before the movie actually came out. But it's the first of, I think, 6 memorial shorts that basically tie into the movie. It's titled To Sora. If you haven't watched it, you should definitely watch it. I think definitely like answers some, if not logistical, but like emotional questions about what's up with Sora that wasn't really addressed by the movie itself.
Which it should have been.
Yeah. And it's a little unfortunate. This is, I think, the only one of, I think, the 6 or 5, however many there are, that will probably ever get released in English. But anyway, I think it's good. What do you all think?
I thought it was good, but it's just like, yeah, I feel like you could have slotted this in the real movie.
Yeah, it is weird since it's only like 5 minutes. Like, you couldn't have fit 5 minutes in the movie.
It could. I think they just like to make Sora the joke now.
Yeah, I actually think this short articulates Kizuna's themes like twice as clearly and with a immediately understandable metaphor. It's just cleaner, tighter. It's tighter than the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does not make up for the lack of Sora in the movie in any way, but in a way she like got a better experience by herself than anyone in the movie got. So like within the movie.
Yeah, it's interesting how it serves to like give Sora some like emotional writing, but also like I think this was used as like promotional like material before the movie came out, and I think it does a really good job of like being a thing you can watch after the movie to be like, get some extra context on where Sora's head was at during the movie, but also before the movie came out, it served well to be like, oh, here you get a brief check-in on where every character is.
Yeah, like somehow in 5 minutes it did better at showing me what Sora was up to and literally everyone else. I was like, what?
Yeah, honestly.
Wild.
And I think it's the best Sora material we've gotten since Adventure OG, and including some parts of OG Adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, like it's like I keep wanting to, the themes are much more clearly stated in this short, and I keep trying to like justify why the movie does it so badly, being like, well, they're all just trying to like figure it out from what's happening around them, like they're trying to articulate it based on what's going on. But I'm like, Jedi was literally in the movie for a second explaining it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't.
Oh, speaking of Jedi, one big complaint I remember having at the time, and now I've come to terms with it, but like, I don't think I'm generally pretty happy with how this movie treated Tri. Like, it didn't feel like made Tri required viewing in any way. But them just accepting Jedi as soon as he appears, I'm like, okay, like...
Did you learn nothing?
Yeah, like, I can headcanon plenty of, especially if there have been 5 years in between, I can headcanon plenty of things that, like, could have happened that made them implicitly trust any Jedi that shows up now. But, like, I feel like every time he shows up, there has to be some, like, proof of genuineness or something to,
not
like...
licking.
Proof of Jedi.
Oh my god. Oh no.
In this.
Oh boy. Yeah, really what they need to do is like take a plushie of Sora and just like hold it in front of his face and see what he does. No lick, then he's good.
But then you run the risk of him licking it and ruining everything in your life.
Yeah.
Well, then you know he's the evil one.
There's some things you're better off not knowing.
This Too Short short still makes me feel very sad. Like, I think whatever is happening to Sora is just overall very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, she's not finding herself. She's just like, oh, I gotta be an adult. I gotta flower arrange. It's like, no, girl.
I have to meet the expectations of everyone, or else something bad will happen.
Yeah, there's a particular bittersweetness to, like, I feel like most of the other characters... She's the one character where, like, she's very set on what she's doing in the moment, and we know that's not what she grows up to do. Like, we know that she becomes a fashion designer, not an Ikebana flower arranger.
Well, because she just breaks at some point.
Right, like, there's some, like, it's foreshadowing some tragedy that, like, maybe she's, especially, like, being the daughter of the Iamoto, or I forget what they call it, the, like, master, the flower master.
Grandmaster.
Yeah, Grandmaster. So, like, being the daughter of that, like... I mean, they show her being successful in the epilogue at fashion designing. So, I mean, it's not all sad, but like, yeah, something definitely changes.
I don't think like it means something like tragic happens. I think she just slowly breaks down and one day wakes up and is like, I can't do it anymore. Just like, bye.
Yeah, but should we talk about the 02 focused drama CD?
Sure. Should we talk about the thing that was definitely written by tourism marketing with unfortunate timing?
So we'll have a link to the translation of the transcript of this drama CD in the show notes. And So it's Zero Two focused. It's even more so than the movie Zero Two segments because it includes Tucker and Kari as part of the group. Yeah, and I didn't think of it that way actually, but I guess so. Was
Oh my gosh!
I don't think the money flows quite that way for it to be
They were
literal,
like,
but
yo, we're gonna tell you about where you can go in the world and what's cool about them. Oh no, there's a pandemic. We did it wrong.
I mean, I would have red flags would have been raised if when they're talking about Nagoya, they've been like, because they mentioned like, oh, it's the car capital of the world, but they don't explain like, oh, Toyota's headquartered here. Like if they'd mentioned company names, then I would have been like, okay, Toyota paid for this, but
Oh, as it stands, you're fine with it.
yeah. I liked seeing Ken's enthusiasm for onsen out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere, yes.
Ken has always been an old soul. I think it comes
Yeah.
through more in Japanese.
Yeah.
I like how Takeru is just like, I really don't care. Like, why am I here?
I like how Hikari was more vocal than usual.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, Hikari had opinions. She was like, yo, I want to go with Miyako to Spain. We're going to do it.
We're gonna get married.
Well, that too. If people haven't read it, you should definitely go read it. But the scenario is that it's them in a karaoke room trying to decide where they should go for a trip, and then like realizing they can use the D3s to go anywhere in the world, which they for some reason don't realize at first. They're kind of stupid, but I mean, I think that's in character.
They're criminals.
Also, wait, this idea that the movie and the CD bring up of them traveling the world through the digital gates made by their D3s, if they could have done that, they didn't need Imperial Dramon Dragon Mode to fly them around the whole world.
They didn't have smartphones in Zero Two.
They still had their D3s.
No, they could.
Oh, they need the internet at the time, right? To like...
I just remember, like, in the drama CD, it was like, we have these smartphone version D3s, which were not a thing in Zero Two.
That's true. Somehow Kosher or Izzy at the time had internet on his laptop when they went places, but he was just a hacker, I guess.
Nah, he probably had a
satellite uplink.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does hack into the satellites in War Games, I guess so. But one of my favorite moments was when they're just like getting into the karaoke bar and realize, like they explained that they're hiding the Digimon not because the Digimon are a secret or anything, just because they have to pay for more people to be in the room.
Yeah.
Everything they're doing, they're just criminals. They're breaking international law. They're
like, do we need to bring our passports? It's like, yeah, they're going to see that you don't have a freaking stamp from...
Oh, that's true.
And if something happens, they're just going to jump back to Japan.
Yeah, they'd be like, digital gate, bye! Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but they're just like, we can go anywhere in the world at any time, and the laws just don't apply to us anymore.
I mean, the laws haven't applied to them in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did they get to New York before? Just like as like 10-year-olds riding an airplane.
Right.
Okay, they went all over the world and dropped everyone off at certain places. Then they went to Miami for some reason to pick up Michael and have Michael's dad just fly them to New York in a plane that could not technically fly that far.
Oh, I forgot about that. I was thinking of one in the movie, but that too. But yeah, this short or this drama scene I thought was very cute. Like their antics are stupid, but like in a way that is very endearing.
I think this was only fun for us because the three of us read it out loud to each other, playing different parts.
It was pretty fun.
That sounds like a nightmare of like keeping track of, because there are like 12 roles.
Who was that? I was Takeru, Patamon, and Wormmon, and Hikari.
Is that it for you?
I think so.
All right. I was narrator, clerk.
Oh, I was the random girl in the beginning.
Oh, was there a random? Yeah, sure. Let me see. I was...
Asher was most things.
Maybe. I was Daisuke, Ken, Armadillomon,
Miyako,
Tailmon. Was I any other Digimon?
I don't remember.
Did I say Ken yet?
Oh, you did not say Ken. You were Ken.
I was Ken.
Who wrote in the notes, does this make up for lack of 02 kids? And there's now a new line that says absolutely not.
Asher put absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
So do you feel like it, were the 02 kids, like, was their absence frustrating in the movie?
Yes.
No.
I actually didn't feel frustrated by that.
It wasn't frustration. It was just like, I could tell that whatever they were doing was stupid because I couldn't really keep track of where they were at any time. And so I was like, it's inherently stupid. And then this drama CD just confirmed that, like, yeah, 100% it was stupid.
I mean, I think their role in the movie itself, like on paper, is completely unnecessary. Apparently, according to, and I don't remember if this was the audio commentary or the interview with the director, Bob links to both those in the show notes. But they initially didn't plan to have them in at all, and then they added them later when they fleshed out the story.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so like, because all they like plot wise do is like add a signal to not trust Kyotaro, which ends up being a red herring anyway.
Yeah.
And then they like are shown fighting the Aosmon when they appear in the world. So it's like none of that's actually necessary. But I really liked seeing them, so I liked it.
Yeah. It's like, oh, good. You acknowledge they exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think most important, acknowledge they exist and that these characters care about them. And like Yamato being the one that contacts them, I thought was kind of cool.
That was nice. Like, it's great that, like, you know, in 02, it was nice that all the older kids, like, had moments where they, like, addressed the younger kids without going through, like, Izzy or Tai, right? It was nice. And yeah, it was also nice to see sort of like where they were on their transition from the end of 02 to the epilogue. I liked Daisuke's ramen, like researching ramen in New York.
Okay, whatever.
That's about the time when New York was starting to get into ramen.
Yeah, I was gonna say 02 like was very prescient. Prescient? How do you pronounce that word? They predicted the rise of ramen in America.
I think it was already here, honestly.
Not ramen restaurants.
Oh.
There weren't as many, and now there's like a boom.
Okay.
I mean, the idea in 02 Epilogue that Davis or Daisuke has a ramen cart or restaurant that's famous enough to be on the cover of Time at the time seemed absurd, but now I'm like, that's plausible, actually.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, I thought the kids were younger than they actually were, so now that I know that they were a little older, it does actually make sense for Daisuke to already be in like the research phase of like trying to start a business, according to this drama CD. Because if the older kids are 22, then he's like minimum 18. So he's graduated high school, and you don't have to go to college.
Yeah, when we were watching the movie, we thought that Yamato and Taichi were 20. But then when we read this drama CD, they were like, Takeru is 20, and we were like, wait, what?
Yeah, like, it took me a while to get that Taichi and Yamato are supposed to be 22 in this movie. They're supposed to be the same age as Manoa, who's 22.
When does this movie take place again?
2010.
It's 2010.
Yeah, which is not I'm going to nitpick here, but not reflective of the cell phone and computer UI shown, which is very 2020. But
What do you mean? I love them virtual reality Taichi in the beginning.
Okay, I think they actually cared. Like, I think there was a note in one of the things I read that they were like, okay, it's not realistic for these VR goggles to actually work, so like they'll break.
So they'll break walls.
In 2010, we didn't have that technology yet, so.
No. It was only like just starting, right?
But I think in one of the screens of one of the times they show computer UI, they're like trying to do like an old school Windows Vista effect or Windows 7 effect. But then there were other parts of the UI where I was like, that's like 2020 Office, like a Word document. So.
I love that this stuff always gets you, Jeff.
Well, because they faithfully recreated it, but created modern stuff. So a callback to something we haven't done in quite a while, but apparently we're doing it in the Data Squad season, and I forgot until I looked at our notes, but the free online gender quiz, this fun little thing. So I went through and entered in the gender quiz as all of these different characters. We have Menoa, Kyotaro, Aosmon, and Lickless Jedi. Who wants to read Menoa's results?
I want to read Lickless Jedi, so somebody else.
Oh, fine. Actually, I don't want to read Menoa's results. Andrew?
So, for Menoa, her gender is Tubbs from Neko Atsume.
There's a picture of Tubbs.
The questions in the free online gender quiz for this one, for Menoa at least, I was like, ooh, these hit pretty hard. Like, I am considerate of others' feelings. And I'm like, no, Menoa's not.
No.
Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I wonder where my life went wrong. It's like, oh yes, Manoa does. And I am ageless and undying. Oof. Yeah,
All right. Should I do Kyotaro?
sure.
All right. Kyotaro's gender is Doge.
Doge.
Doge? Is that how it's
I
pronounced?
think so.
All right. Doge. That's right. Your gender is one of the most popular memes of 2013. How does it feel to be famous? Probably bad for an FBI agent.
So Aosmon is... Whose turn is it? Is it my turn?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So Aosmon, his top hat. Oh my, little old-fashioned, aren't we? This gender was one of the original three, standard in 1999 at the first meeting of the International Union of Pure and Applied Gendistry. It's fallen a little out of favor since then, but back in the day, this was the gender to have. Congrats, Aosmon.
Hang on a sec. Did you say 1990?
1919.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, 1919, whatever. And Lickless Jedi, finally.
Your gender is 3. Your gender is the natural number following 2 and preceding 4. It is prime.
That's perfect.
I thought that was very fitting.
Perfect for Jedi. Any Jedi.
Any Jedi.
Maybe not Licky Jedi.
Yeah, nice.
Remember how there was a whole, we spent hours talking about what the 3 in try meant, and I still have no idea?
I don't
This
know.
was a better answer.
Yeah.
It was Jedi's gender.
Yeah.
I gender the whole time.
Terminal judgment!
I haven't played that clip in a while.
I know, it's so nostalgic.
Ashley, who was your MVP and how would you rate the movie out of 5 stars?
I definitely had trouble picking a favorite character, so I'm gonna go with Yamato's motorcycle as my MVP. Yamato riding his motorcycle. Yamato riding his motorcycle with Gabumon. French kiss. And I would give.
I don't think you say
What?
French kiss. It's chef's kiss.
Oh, whatever.
You're not French kissing Gabumon on the motorcycle. Hopefully.
You don't know what I'm into. Jay.
Do you have something to tell me?
You don't know what I'm into either, Ashley.
Do I not? We discussed a couple times throughout the movie how Yamato just became the sexiest guy ever.
Yeah, in the one shot, in the beginning, Andrew had been he looks a lot like Al from Full Metal Alchemist. And there were certain shots where I was like, I feel that. And Al is very handsome, so you know what?
Is that why his name is Al? Because he's from Full Metal Alchemist?
Can we eject you from your own podcast that we're not technically on anymore?
Anyway, I would give it 4 out of 5 stars. Just because I feel like it was very good. Emotionally, I'm yes, satisfying. All these things, but I do not think that it made coherent theme. No.
Asher, who's your MVP and how would you rate the movie?
Yeah. My MVP was Taichi's face. He had some incredibly good expressions throughout, and I'm like, oh yeah, I see that this is a visual callback to Taichi's expressions in our war game. And in this art style, it looks really cute and great. It's fabulous. It really made a lot of the movie for me, to be perfectly honest. And
That's what made them.
What?
That's what made the movie for you.
Absolutely.
Making faces. Okay.
Oh, 100%. I also rate this a 4 out of 5. And for much of the same reason, its lack of coherence to itself and to what I feel is the thrust of Digimon overall, sort of dimmed my enjoyment of it. But when I was able to put that aside, I was like, this is really just well done. Well done.
Round of applause.
Andrew, who's your MVP? How would you rate the movie?
Okay, so my MVP is the lone Numemon in Paris who not only survived the Aosmon onslaught, but also managed to protect its partner. And I guess I'd place the movie around a 3 or 4. It's just
3.5.
There's just so many places where it could improve.
That's fair. I don't like you saying Aosmon Onslaught because it sounds too much like the kind of trolly Attack on Titan fan subgroup that was like, actually, the series should be called Aotna Onslaught. Anyway, um,
I do not understand that.
I'll send you a link too. It was a whole controversy because they were like, well, Titan isn't actually the thing they use in universe, so the title should be something different. Anyway, my MVP is going to be Yamato wearing glasses.
Oh yeah! I also was like, yes, what's that?
That was great. He looked great, and I think in terms of like what Ash was saying about the faces, that was something that I totally was surprised by because I went in liking the try designs and then seeing when these designs revealed, and I was like, oh, these characters look so bland. Like I was really pessimistic, and it was very surprising, and everyone looked great. Overall, I'm going to give the movie, I think for kind of the opposite reason, a 4.5 out of 5 stars because I think overall the emotional experience in the movie was like near perfect. One of the best Digimon, I think the best standalone Digimon thing compared to like watching an entire season. It's not really feasible in one sitting. And my big frustration is it doesn't include the rest of the cast anyway. It's like 99% the Taichi Yamato show, which is wasn't frustrating for me in the moment at any point when I watch it, but it is frustrating when I look back on it. And I wish the theme was more coherent and made sense with the rest of the Digimon lore. But that's the kind of thing that I think about afterwards, and I'm like, oh, it'd be nice if that fit together better. But while watching it, it never takes me out of it. That brings us to the end of the show. This episode of Podigious was brought to you by Izumi Corporation. If you thought Facebook and Twitter were bad, just wait to hear about Tokoshiro's new social network tech startups targeted specifically towards children. Send feedback about the episode to podigious@gmail.com, to @podigious on Twitter, or in the episode comments on podigious.com. All right, let's go around and share where people can find us on social media.
I'm AshMcD00 on Twitter. I also do a podcast still about shoujo manga called Shoujo and Tell. That's at Shoujo and Tell without the U on Twitter.
You can't really find me consistently on the internet. I still send people to my archive of our own fanfiction account at Dashery. So just search Dashery on AO3.
And then you can find me at DrewSoftman on Twitter.
And I am Jeff on Twitter. And thank you everyone for listening. I'll be back later this week to talk about Adventure 2020, episode 59, which the final title is unknown as we record this, which won't be revealed for a couple more hours. But something like Lightning Harackle Kabuterimon. Bye!
Bye!
And remember, never stop digivolving.
We should kill us by you.